Most amazing dinosaur finds around the world.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Titanic. I'm your host, Alexa.
A fossil find is always exciting, and these could include anything from bones, shells, imprints, exoskeletons, basically any remains or impressions left behind from living creatures from the past. Fossils have taught us so much about human evolution, and it takes rare circumstances to ensure that the fossils survive as long as they do.
While we were researching, we found some really interesting information. One of the most famous dinosaurs had a really tiny brain. More on that later, but first, let's get into some fossils. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload.
Megalosaurus. It's believed the very first fossil to ever be found was in 1676 in England. At that stage, the professor who unearthed this discovery had no idea what a dinosaur was and thought it might have belonged to a human giant. The concept of a huge, lumbering animal was the farthest thing from their minds. Fast forward 150 years, when William Buckland gave them their distinct name, and then a further 20 years for paleontologist Richard Owen to identify this one as a Megalosaurus. This is considered the first ever dinosaur to be named, so it holds a special place in the heart of paleontologists. Despite a couple of hundred years passing since it was named, there's still very little known about this meat-eater. The Megalosaurus lived around 165 million years ago during the Jurassic period. Strangely, this period of dinosaurs is the period that we know the least about. The best-known finds are either from the late Jurassic, which is roughly 150 million years ago, or the early to late Cretaceous period, that's 130 to 65 million years ago. Meet Sue, the T-Rex. Sue is the biggest, most complete, and most well-preserved T-Rex ever found. She was discovered by Sue Hendrickson in 1990, hence her name Sue. Found in South Dakota, Sue measures 40.5 feet long and stands 13 feet tall when measured from her hip. By the time Sue, the human, had discovered Sue, the dinosaur, only 60% of her body had been retrieved. Sue, the dinosaur, has another name, which is FMNHPR 2081. She was auctioned in October of 1997 and fetched $8.3 million, the highest amount of money ever received for a dinosaur fossil. Sue has always been on display at the Field Museum in Chicago, but now she has her own private suite, which further amplifies her ginormous size. Her ribs are also installed, again, further emphasizing just how big she was. Sue has her own Twitter handle with close to 50,000 followers, so if you love dinosaurs and Sue, go and follow her on Twitter at Sue the T-Rex. Hadrosaurus. Back to the 1800s we go, and it was during this time that the fossils of a Hadrosaurus were discovered. This 1856 find was special as it was the first almost complete dinosaur fossil to be unearthed in North America. Interesting to note, it was found in New Jersey. I digress, so skip ahead to 1868 and the Hadrosaurus becomes the first dinosaur skeleton to go on display at the Philadelphia Academy of Natural Sciences. It was John Hopkins who made the discovery and displayed the bones in his home, not realizing the value of the find. A visitor at his home realized the importance of the bones and excavated the rest of the site to reveal the Hadrosaurus.
Hadrosauruses are herbivores and were around roughly 80.5 million years ago. New Jersey officially named the Hadrosaurus their state dinosaur in 1991, and they often use this to increase the state's paleontology pride.
Keeping it real. The most realistic dinosaur fossil ever found was of a nodosaur, found by sheer accident by Canadian miners in an environment where it's unlikely to have ever found a dinosaur fossil, Millennium Mine. Miners had unearthed transmogrified remains of marine plants and animals, but never a dinosaur. The fossil is an entire petrified body, not just a skeleton. It's remarkable as you can see the animal's scales and skin in exquisite detail. The animal was roaming the earth 110 million years ago and was wiped out by a flooded river. The water burial is what preserved it so perfectly. This find is so incredible because you don't have to imagine what a nodosaur looked like. It looks like the real deal. Even some of its insides are still attached. It's an actual dinosaur that stretched 18 feet long, or 5.4 meters, and weighed 3,000 pounds. That's 1,300 kilograms. This discovery was made in 2011, and researchers have spent thousands of hours studying this surreal find. Iguanodon. This 1820 find was the second dinosaur to receive a formal genus name of Iguanodon. Despite the fossils clearly indicating the existence of the creature, heated debates continued about the validity of the find. Initially, Georges Cuvier and William Buckland thought the bones were either from a rhino or from a fish, but it was Richard Owen who identified the Iguanodon as a true dinosaur.
European naturalists found this discovery quite confusing and thought the thumb spike was the end of a nose. Their body shape took a further 50 years to be drawn correctly.
The Iguanodon was one of 3 dinosaurs displayed at the Crystal Palace Exhibition Hall in 1854. A small package. Fossils bring to mind all these wonderful bones that we've already shown you, but this fossil addition is slightly unusual. We know that fecal matter can give us a lot of information about an animal, and a human, for that matter. Well, the same goes for fossilized fecal matter. This matter is called coprolites, and coprolites are small packages that give us a lot of information about dinosaurs. They can provide a lot more insight than just the skeletal remains of a dinosaur, as they can give us details about how the animal behaved. Coprolites give information about their diet, environment, what animals lived side by side with what other dinosaurs, and the conditions under which they were preserved. Coprolites are only formed under perfect conditions, like when a mineralizing agent covers the deposit soon after it was produced. If decomposition was avoided and the mineral deposit a success, only then will a coprolite be produced. The coprolites of herbivorous dinosaurs have brought forward matter like dung beetles' burrows, snail shells, and small pieces of rotting conifer wood, which is said to be highly unusual for herbivorous dinosaurs. ARCHAEOPTERYX. It was around this time that Charles Darwin published his work on the origin of species, and the few years that followed this publication saw more incredible discoveries in the limestone deposits in Solnhofen, Germany, which further strengthened Darwin's writings. Solnhofen's findings brought forward perfectly preserved fossils of an Archaeopteryx, which was the link needed between dinosaurs and birds. Subsequently, the Sinosauropteryx has been discovered, but the impact was not nearly as profound. So far, 11 specimens have been found, along with one lonely feather. The fossils are 150 million years old and thought to be from the Jurassic period.
These birds differ from modern birds in that they have a full set of teeth, 3 claws on each wing, and a long, bony tail. The claws were probably used to grasp the branches with. What they did have in common with the modern bird is the wishbone, wings, and flight feathers.
It's not certain if they could fly like modern birds. Some believe that flight was a little unstable for this prehistoric creature. Maiasaura. Let's go forward to the 20th century, where in 1975, Jack Horner discovered the nesting grounds of Maiasaura. Interesting side note, Horner was also the inspiration for the character of Sam Neill in Jurassic Park. Maiasaura is a medium-sized hadrosaur that was common in the American West, where it would roam in vast herds. What was prevalent about this incredible finding was that this hadrosaur had an active family life, as fossils reveal babies, juveniles, and adults all together. The Maiasaura mothers earned the nickname the Good Mother Dinosaur, and they were duck-billed dinosaurs. Findings have proven that they followed herding behavior, whereby not just a few dozen dinosaurs would go tramping through the plains, but rather thousands of them together. Although it's believed they did this to protect themselves from other hungry dinosaurs, like the Troodon, just as one example. Maiasaura moms would lay eggs, but when you weigh 5 tons, sitting on eggs to incubate them isn't exactly an option. So, paleontologists believe that the parents would gather all sorts of vegetation to assist with incubating the eggs. As the vegetation would rot away, it would emit heat, helping to hatch the babies. It's also believed that the babies would eat the rotting vegetation once they hatched. BRACHYLOPHOSAURUS. This great dino find was dubbed Leonardo, and although he wasn't the first Brachylophosaurus ever found, he was certainly the most incredible. Found in 2000, Leonardo was a near-complete mummified hadrosaur, and he was one of the first to have some high-tech technology give him a thorough investigation. He underwent X-rays and MRI scans with the intention of piecing him together with clarity, although the results were mixed, much to the frustration of the research team. Several of these techniques are used today and are gleaning far better results. Leonardo was a type of duck-billed dinosaur that had short crests on their heads and sport a thick, downward-turning beak. Researchers believe that the males would headbutt each other to try and garner the interest of the females.
These dinosaurs struggled with tumors, as their specimens have revealed. One showed the end stages of metastatic cancer.
This might have made the dinosaur weak and easy pickings for a T-Rex. To date, 3 complete fossils of the Brachylophosauris have been found. They are Leonardo, Elvis, and Roberta. A 4th, an incomplete juvenile, was also found, and they named him Peanut. Leonardo has a crop like a bird on its neck, which probably aided in digestion. They also had different types of scales on various parts of their body. The fight dinosaurs. Protoceratops and Velociraptor have become famously dubbed the fight dinosaurs, as the fossils found showed 2 dinosaurs visibly locked in conflict. They are over 80 million years old and were discovered in 1971. Found in the Gobi Desert, Mongolia, the carnivorous Velociraptor had planted its claw into a blood vessel of the Protoceratops. The Protoceratops bit and broke the right arm of its predator, and a sudden flow of sand buried the creature, where they lay still for 80 million years. Remarkably, this fossil is the only one that captures active predation. YUTYRANNUS. This next fossil might make you question everything. When scientists found the YUTYRANNUS, it challenged the way they had thought of its cousin, the Tyrannosaurus rex. Instead of scales, it might have been soft and downy, like a baby duck. There is some distance between the cousins, though. The YUTYRANNUS lived in Asia over 50 million years before the T-Rex that occupied North America, but there's no ignoring that in recent fossils, it was clear the YUTYRANNUS was covered in a fine down coat, which is hard to get your head around, as large-bodied animals generally retain body heat very well. The researchers working with the fossil estimate the size of the YUTYRANNUS to be an adult around 30 feet long and weighing 1.5 tons.
Those are a ton of discoveries so far, but here's some more information. The Stegosaurus, which could grow to be 30 feet long and weigh 6,800 pounds, had a brain the size of a walnut. Who knew a dinosaur so big could have had a brain so small?
1. Giant dinosaur, southwestern France. French paleontologists are surely popping the bubbly over their recent discovery of a giant dinosaur bone. The thigh bone, or femur, measures 2 meters long and belonged to the sauropod that lived over 140 million years ago. The sauropod was an herbivorous dinosaur with a long neck and tail and weighed a hefty 40 to 50 tons, so no lightweight vegetarian. The site near Cognac is proving to be full of great finds. Remains that have been dug up since 2010 include some of the largest animals that ever lived on land. The site has had the largest of any archaeological dinosaur finds in Europe and has since turned up more than 7,500 fossils of 40 different species just since 2010.